Welcome to the Hot Seat, powered by Affordable Staff, David Judge, and here we are at Season 2, Episode 2 of the Hot Seat, where we release a new episode every second Tuesday and talk to industry influencers that have worked hands-on in the real estate industry to find out where these influencers see current and future trends and what you can do about it to grow and support your business. Now today, Eva and Damien are interviewing Sadhana Smiles, who is the CEO of property management Harcourts International. Now, Sadhana discusses the concern of property managers losing their job as the industry changes, why service is not just about the number of things you do for a client, and more about the stickiness of the service you provide, how technologies like Google will impact a real estate agency in the future, why your property management business is an asset, and how you should treat that asset, and really so much more. This is like a really, really good interview. I was really impressed with Eva and Damien, and they really did a great job in the interview. And, you know, Sadhana is a seasoned interviewee that has real world suggestions and advice on the industry. So it's a great interview. So I'm going to stop talking. Let's get into it and roll it.
Hi, my name is Eva Judge, and welcome to the Hot Seat Season 2. With me I have
Damien
Burnett, yes, and
Sadhana Smiles.
Sadhana Smiles. Now,
Welcome, Sadhana.
Welcome, Sadhana.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, now Sadhana is a special guest today, and let's drill her and find out how Sadhana became
Under the spotlight.
So
Yeah.
I suppose coming from the industry, tell us about yourself. How did you get to where you are now? Tell us how your journey, I suppose, in the real estate world.
Do you have like a whole day for me to tell you about this?
Perhaps a short version.
Short version.
Oh, okay, the boring short version.
No, that's the exciting short version.
I took a job as a receptionist in real estate because at the time it was the most exciting job that was available, and they employed me. I made a terrible receptionist. I lasted at the front desk for about, 2 weeks, and my director at the time came down and said to me, "We need to move you on." And I thought, oh God, they're going to fire me, but they didn't. They moved me into admin. And look, long story short, I basically worked my way through the industry, the various roles, left the industry for a while, and that's when I worked in software sales and sold software to real estate agents, and then came back into the industry. I think it's one of those industries, once it's in your blood, it always stays in your blood. Came back into the industry and basically worked my way up the ladder. You know, I had some great mentors.
But did you start in property management or sales?
No, it started through property management. Yeah, so I came through property, worked with some great leaders in property management and you know, only property management days where you didn't have technology, and we used to take cash over the counter and go to the bank 2 or 3 times a day and
carbon copies,
Kalamazoo systems, you know, collect the money and put them into little envelopes and put them through the bank, you know, hole in the bank on the weekend and all that sort of stuff. So I learnt long, hard way on how to run a good property management business, and really things haven't changed that much. Technology has.
Probably at a time too, though, when property management wasn't the business that it is nowadays.
It's not.
It was the whole, we've got to manage a few properties on the side.
Yeah, and look, but to be fair though, you know, if you looked at the industry overall and said, you know, 20 years ago, did business owners pay a lot of attention to property management? No. 20 years down the track, do they pay a lot of attention to property management? Perhaps not as much as they should either. So I don't know how much has changed. I think a little bit has changed in that space, but there's a hell of a lot more to go.
Yeah.
And people start paying attention when they come to sell their business, and they realise that this is their asset, and they've ignored it for the last X number of years, and oh my goodness, that's what my business do. It's my business going to be valued on something that I've paid no attention to. What do I do?
Yeah, and how's it going to be valued? Which is another story, which I think is going to change over the next period of time also.
Well, it has to. It has to change. I mean, we're one of the few industries where the value of the business is worked out in the revenue line, and that's just crazy. Not many other industries have that advantage. So it will move from revenue line to profitability.
Yeah.
But that'll be profitability of the entire business. And that's where I think, you know, we'll see a significant shift and change in terms of how business owners currently look at their property management businesses. So if you're selling your business in the next 2 or 3 years, is that going to impact you? Probably not. But if you're looking at selling your business in the next 5, 10, 15 years, then my advice to anyone listening to this is start making the changes now. Don't wait till it comes and arrives at your doorstep. Start making the changes now.
So, I mean, that's obviously one of the bigger challenges to see. What other challenges do you see in the industry in general, in the property management side of things, obviously?
I love this question because, for years and years and years, myself and my counterparts have listened to all these salespeople carry on about how there's going to be disruption, for want of a better word, in this industry. And the reality is property management is the one that's being disrupted the most.
Yes.
And there's a whole range of things happening.
Is it because it's so administration heavy, or?
Well, it is. It's so admin heavy, and it's the one place where we can actually significantly make changes and savings and really turn the client experience, because we have long-term relationships, right?
Yes, so it's not a once-off sale. That's
it's
exactly
not a
right.
once-off thing, and that's where in a long-term relationship you can actually change how you interact with that person. So what we're seeing now in the marketplace is, and this is where your business is involved, outsourcing is a massive change that's hit us. And I remember at a Harcourts conference a few years ago, in fact 5 or 6 years ago, we had someone who talked about outsourcing, and the poor guy was nearly, he was nearly shouting
off the stage.
I was like sitting there going, oh my God, they're going to murder him when he comes off the stage, But now there is a lot more acceptance.
Yes.
There's a lot more inquiries. People are more inquisitive about how that is going to work in their business.
Yeah.
And, I hate for people to think that it's all about saving money, because it's not. It's more about how do you restructure your businesses so the people that you have onshore have better jobs.
That's exactly right.
And that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I look at businesses, as you know, go into a lot of them and talking to them and sitting with the staff and the property managers, and they're worried about losing their job. Your job's not going to change.
Yeah.
So your job is going to change, but
it'll
for the better. For the better.
And for me, it's so exciting to actually watch the 12-month, 2-year journey of the property management side of the business, and as they it's almost benchmarks you hit as 3 months, 6 months.
But you got to do it correctly, right?
Take your time.
We started outsourcing 18 months ago with you guys, and we made all the mistakes where we put it in, we didn't do the cultural change, we didn't do the system changeover, we didn't teach the staff how to interact with someone who's sitting offshore, we didn't look at all the processes properly, and it was hard. But we learned some good lessons through that.
Yeah. It is. It has been a challenging environment, but I suppose they're going to. Nowadays, there's so much change, and every industry is getting impacted, not just real estate and property management, but across the board, the rate of change has increased. How can you differentiate? How do you think someone could differentiate themselves nowadays in Harcourts Office 1 and 2? How are they going to stand out from Harcourts 3 and 4?
I'm a big believer that the big difference for us is the level of service that you provide. And it's not about, I do 10 things for my owners or I do 10 things for my tenants and I have a smile on my face when I pick up the phone. It's service in a holistic way. So I look at this and I go, yes, there's a service element in terms of what's the experience that people have when they interact with your brand or when they interact with your office. But even more than that is what's the stickiness that you're providing? So what more are you giving your clients other than the property management services to stay with you? Yes. And research shows us that if you give them more than one reason to use your products, or you give them a range of products to use with your business, they're more likely to stay with you long term. Yep. So businesses in our industry, particularly in property management, we've got to shift our thinking and look at our business being more than just property management.
Yeah.
So what's an example of that, would you suggest?
So I'll tell you some of the things that we're doing in my business now. So we've looked at doing remove lists. So we have this lovely little brochure that all of my guys use on a weekend at open for inspections, because the reality is I might have 20 people through a property, but only one person is going to get it. 19 others are still looking and are going to move, right?
That's right.
So we offer moving services at a discounted rate if they book through us. We offer cleaning services at a discounted rate if they book through us. We offer tenant insurance at a rate if they take their insurance through us. So it's about looking at all the adjacencies, and it's not about the door or the property, because that's a physical element and it's never going to change. It's about the people you interact with and all the changes that they're going through in their lives, the choices and decisions they're making in their lives that relate back to where they live and how they live and the lifestyle they have.
But moving it's such a painful experience for so many people, and I guess offering that extra bit of customer service one benefits the business.
Well, it's not hard. It's not hard. I mean,
Yeah.
in my mind, I would love to use someone in your team to actually ring up the 100 people we saw this weekend to say, hey, we'd love to offer you moving service. But that's where I see my business going to, is to be able to provide that stickiness, because they can then say, we go to X, Y, and Z, but we don't have the same experience with this business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or as this business, sorry. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to a young lady starting out in property management or starting their real estate journey? And I won't say your younger self, but what advice would you give a young person that's looking at real estate as a career, because it is a real awesome career now? What advice would you give them?
Can I just expand on that as well? Not just what advice getting into the industry, but also why would they look at coming into the industry to become a property manager? What would attract them as well?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Eva, because we've always had the issue of getting attracting good talent in our industry, right? And retaining them.
Yes.
Okay. And a lot of us lose good people on the way. And we really do need to look at the professional standards that we have, and that comes around to how quickly you can get your license. You know, I met someone the other day in Victoria who got their license after a week and a half, and that's ridiculous. That is wrong, and it should not happen. So when we devalue the education standards that we have for people to provide service on one of the most important parts of your life as the client, we've got an issue, right? So we've got to look at the professional standards that we have. How easy is it for someone to become a real estate agent? The training that we give, you know, it is rare to find organisations that provide leadership training. It is rare to find organisations that do business training. So do you understand the P&L? Do you actually understand how you can grow your business? So there's a, and I could go on and on and on. We haven't got the time, but there's a huge range of things that we need to look at as an industry on that front end. And say, you know, how do we become more professional to become more attractive to the right person? So someone leaving school can say, I've got a 3-year journey to become a really good agent with the ultimate goal of opening my own office. But I am not going to be the salesperson who then thinks I am sick and tired of sharing 40% of my revenue with someone. Oh, I know, I'll go and open up an office. So we've got to get out of that mindset a little bit.
Yes.
And the second thing is, you know, around the advice to someone who is in that position right now is look at the traditional model of property management and then turn it upside down.
So what do you mean?
Well, look at other industries, look at other service industries. And people I look at a lot are airlines, right?
Yes.
Hotels, restaurants. So people who are on the front line delivering service and go to the best, go to the top in their field. Look at what they're doing and then assess it and go, how do I bring that into my industry? How do I make that into a real estate? Understand the client's journey. So we've done a lot of work at Harcourts around mapping out the client's journey. So understand the tenant's journey, the landlord's journey, and at what points in that journey can you deliver that experience that's going to make them go, wow.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
You know, but I can tell you right now, if we had a conference and we said this session is about customer experience or customer service, a lot of people would go, I know how to do that. I'm okay on that.
I've done it for the last 20 years. I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I don't really need to go.
Yeah, and I think the change is so massive at the moment, whether it's, and everyone always, when they talk about change and disruption, everyone always looks at technology, but people don't realise that there is such a massive change in customer expectation as well.
Yeah.
And that, I think...
Well, I think that one of the issues we have in our industries, and you're right, technology is just the enabler, right? That's all it is, it's the enabler. But the levels of expectations that are being put on our people today, and let's just focus on property management. So the expectations of owners and tenants around what they want from us in terms of service is being driven by what they experience elsewhere.
That's exactly right. And I think, Damien, we've spoken about that a few times in the past. Like when you used to be a property manager a few years ago, it was a 9-to-5 job. More
More
or
so
less.
now, but Google's actually, I think I blame Google.
Well, everybody blames Google for everything, right?
But it's changed your expectations. You can find an answer to a question and ranked in a split second.
Well, there's going to come a time where I'm going to say, Google Home, tell me who the best property manager is in my area.
Yep.
And Google Home will say, I'm going to go on the reviews, have a look, and, it's Sadhana Smiles.
Yeah.
And this is her number, and this is where you need to get hold of her.
Would you like me to call
Would
her
you like
that?
me to call her? That's the world we're moving into,
Yep.
Yes.
which is exciting.
It is very exciting. It is exciting. But it's also been a big change. Big change for a lot of people. And it's one of those things that my personal experience, so some of the personal experiences that I've had is technology isn't the enabler, it's been used as the tool. And that's the big fall down that I see in the customer experience.
And I'll give you an example of this, right? And maybe some of your listeners will be doing this in their businesses. So my big bugbear, and my team will tell you this, is how many people have you spoken to? So picked up the phone and had a conversation. So on a Monday morning, it'll be like, have you rung up the owners? Oh no, we send them a text message. It automatically does it from this particular software that we're using, and it automatically sends a text message to let them know we had 10 people through. Yes, but did you ring them?
No.
So that's an example where the technology has become the tool, and property managers or leasing agents or BDMs are not picking up the phone.
Coming from a customer service background and training, that was one of the key, and from a totally different industry, that was always a key challenge. People are afraid of picking up the phone. People are afraid because somebody might ask them a question, and I think that's one of the All right, let's change shift.
I think this is you.
Yeah,
this one's definitely this is definitely your question.
So I guess, Sadhana, you've done so many things in your life, and I guess one of the things I've read about you, obviously in the past, and knowing you, is that you had 3 goals. One was to own investment property. One was to write a book. Another one was to become the Telstra Woman of the Year. So check. What's next? Where are you heading?
I've had a few more since then. And look, I think my passion, and people always say to me, rightly or wrongly, I'm very driven. And I am. And I think for me, my drive comes from inherently wanting to make a real difference in this space. And one of the reasons why I bought the business that I now have, Harcourts Move, was because I genuinely wanted to create a business where people wanted to work in, where we were doing all the things that I believe we should be doing. Yes. So, putting my money where my mouth is kind of stuff. But for me, the next thing would be to be involved where we genuinely make a change in this industry, driven at the front end, not just by myself, but there's a number of other people in real estate and particularly in property management who are doing all the things that we're doing, but to really drive those changes and see that paradigm shift in agents, in property managers, in franchise groups. The franchise group that pays full 100% attention to property managers and makes it part of their number 1 or 2 or equal to sales will win this battle, because it is always seen as the poor cousin. Want of a better word, we've always called it that, right? Yes. And I think if for me, and it's my mission in life right now, is to move the paradigm around this, is to get people to understand that it is your most profitable part of the business, and it may not be profitable when you are running it on a day-to-day basis, but by God, when you come to sell it, that's what you've got. And I always say to people, if you buy an investment property, are you going to put the worst tenants in there, ignore it, not do any maintenance on that property, don't cut the lawns, don't do anything, don't even get it managed, and then expect to get the same return 10 years later that you would have done had you actually paid attention and looked after it, right? No difference. So if you want your property management business to grow, to make a difference, to pay you the dividends, whether you're a business owner or a franchise group, pay attention to it.
Fantastic. I guess this leads us into probably our last question. What is it? What's happening in your business at the moment? Can you give us a bit of a shameless plug?
Yeah, shameless
Tell us about what.
Well, I'm really lucky that I work in one of the groups that does put a focus on property management. Yes. So in my role that I have now, which is CEO looking after a number of countries, clearly we do have a focus on this area. So what's next for me? Is that what you're kind of asking? Yeah. I think
what's next for your business? What would you like everyone to
for my business would be I'd love to Harcourts Move. If I take that part of my business, I'd love to see us grow to a point where we've got 1,000 properties under management, we've got the systems are all where they need to be, we're winning awards, all that sort of stuff. I think as a business owner, that's kind of, for my people, that's what I'd love to see them up on stage winning awards, because that's a tick in the box to say what you're doing and the journey you've been through and all the pain points we've had to go through is actually right. You know, it's kind of like I'm up on stage and I've got a piece of paper or an award that says this has been worth it. In my other corporate role is really working with my counterparts to drive the property management message, to do things differently, to understand what is happening in this industry around the adjacent income streams, the legislation changes, the things like the valuation changes, the pressure we've got happening on commission right now, all the technology changes, the outsourcing piece. And to look at that and go, how do we plug all of these things into the business so that when somebody wants to change their brand over, we are the best at this. We're so far ahead of the game that it doesn't matter. And that's probably my biggest next thing.
Great. Fantastic. We might have take a
Short break, yeah.
Short break, and we'll get into our hot seat questions.
Great.
Thanks, guys. All right, thanks, guys. We're back, and we're going to do this 60-second hot seat. Well, 6 hot seat questions with Sadhana.
I'm sure it'll go longer than 60 seconds. Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. All right, do you want to start off?
Yeah, what's the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Eel.
What was that like?
Eel's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love eel.
Yeah, right.
In London, and it was horrible at a market.
It wasn't cooked well. Okay, describe yourself in 3 words.
Crazy, lots of chutzpah, and a big heart.
Okay.
Favourite drink?
Whiskey.
Weapon of choice.
A knife. No.
And please not edit that out.
Weapon of choice to do what?
What have you hold on?
Let's leave it open to interpretation.
My kids would say a rolling pin or a wooden spoon would be my weapon of choice.
So
let's go with knife.
How do you spend the first 3 hours of your day?
I am usually up at 5:30, and between 5:30 and 8:30, I catch up on everything, so emails and things that are outstanding. Because once my day starts at 8:30, I am straight into it. I have recently started meditating.
Yeah.
And that's been interesting.
Enjoy
I can't
that.
do anything more than 5 minutes, but I do. So that's all designed to, calm you down for the start of the day. So that's my start of the day.
Great. So what's your biggest fear?
Sharks.
Sharks. Oh, mine too. Totally.
But after I saw that stupid movie Jaws,
stupid bloody Jaws. Oh my god!
And I was living in Fiji at the time, and I could not get back in the water again. And even to this day, I know that it is ridiculous. Jaws is not going to come and eat me, but I can't go into the water.
It was that floating head.
I don't know what it was. Yep, sharks, biggest fear.
Would you prefer to be able to fly or be invisible?
Invisible. I
Okay.
can create so much havoc if I was invisible.
University or school of hard knocks?
School of Hard Knocks.
Oh, one
Me
more
too.
each. One more each.
Hey, yeah, one more each.
All right.
Friday or Monday?
Friday.
Why?
Drinks.
Drinks?
That's a total property management.
Friday night drinks. Friday night drinks.
And last question. What would you say to an 18-year-old today? One bit of advice to an 18-year-old.
Become financially smart and savvy, because you are responsible for your own financial gain or downfall. Nobody else is going to do it for you, and I think these days we have a huge opportunity to make sure that the younger generation are far more educated around the finances of their life than we have ever been. And an 18-year-old has a massive opportunity to learn around what they can do and really financially set themselves up for the long term much earlier on than our generation has.
Sadhana Smiles, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on the hot seat. And look forward to continuing to work with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. That was fun.
Always is. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode where Damien and Eva interviewed Sadhana Smiles. And before you go, I'd ask if you enjoyed this episode that you subscribe to our podcast, which you can find when you search for The Hot Seat wherever you listen to your podcasts, especially on platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I also wanted to remind you that The Hot Seat is powered by affordable staff, and if I am 100% honest, we could not put The Hot Seat together without outsourcing. There's a lot of background work that goes into creating a podcast, and this could not happen without outsourcing it to our overseas team. I record the content here and I send it offshore where they handle the video editing, the audio editing, the website, the podcast distribution, the marketing, and so much more. So thank you especially to Ira and the rest of our team. Okay, great. Thanks again for all your support and listening to the second episode of Season 2 of The Hot Seat, and we will catch you again in the next fortnight. Okay, bye.